You can just go through the public.
No, I like to feel special. I like to feel special. I already forgot my ID. You're your partner.
Next to you.
Russian myself is no tomorrow.
It feels so good.
Yeah, I guess it is.
What's this? Must be. I don't know if you want.
I would just go through the public one.
Log in, please.
That. Yeah. Not able to get on. Not able to get on.
Let me just log into mine.
Yours not working either.
What? I did something wrong. It didn't do them. Okay, so let me try to log out.
I guess I really will have to.
I think it's that computer that happens to me all the time.
Okay.
My computer is not working.
Well, I saved my password on this one. That's right. Yes.
Do it.
No, girl.
Thank you.
You going down there at the next meeting.
No.
We're calling to order the meeting of the Dayton Public School Board, meeting at 17:03. Roll call.
President Bailey,
Here.
Dr. Goodwin,
Dr. Goodwin will be a little late.
Mr. Lacy,
Here?
Mr. Smith,
Present.
Ms. Reina,
Present.
Mr. Walker,
Present.
Ms. Garrison,
Present.
Ms. Woods,
Present.
7 present.
Let it be noted that Dr.
Oh,
Goodwin
8
is just,
present.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let it be noted that Dr. Goodwin has just arrived. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower. Our vision is to inspire, educate, and empower scholars for a lasting impact. And our purpose is to cultivate a supportive and engaging educational experience.
At this time, since we did not have Vice President voted on last week, the floor is open for nominations for the last time.
If I may, Dr. Bailey, I would like to nominate Jamaica Garrison.
All right.
I would nominate Mr. Will Smith.
All right.
I will nominate Chrysandra Goodwin. But I also have a question. Under Robert's rules, I believe, if you don't have, if there is no vice president, in the event that a president doesn't act, it's the pro tem
Correct.
is technically the way, then the pro tem would, if there's no one chosen, then the pro tem would be effectively the vice president.
Correct. And just to clarify as well, if a vice president is not selected today, then at any time, a motion can be put out on the floor to nominate, to reopen nominations for a vice president too.
Okay. So at this time, we will get the treasurer.
Okay.
You have to close nominations first.
Oh,
And then-
that's right, I'm sorry. Nominations have been closed, and at this time, if the treasurer would do a roll call, and please just give the person's name.
President Bailey,
President Goodwine,
Dr. Goodwin,
Dr. Goodwine.
Mr. Lacy,
Dr. Goodwine.
Mr. Smith,
Smith.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Garrison.
Walker, Mr. Walker,
Smith.
Ms. Garrison,
Garrison.
3 for Dr. Goodwin, 2 for Mr. Smith, and 2 for Ms. Garrison.
at this time, those nominations have been closed, and we'll move on. DPS Wellness Day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bailey. DPS Family Wellness Day. Join us for a day dedicated to mental and physical wellness with the free self-care lab. Yoga classes, speaker sessions, prizes, giveaways, and lots of other things. It was our first one last year at Ponance, and it was packed, and it was great. Ms. Spurlock, also they had intramurals that morning, so the intramural parents would come right over to the wellness fair. It was just a great day at Ponance. So we having intramurals on that same day again this year. Same setup, it's going to be wonderful. So come out to see intramurals in the morning, but also that Family Wellness Day, massages, foot rubs, all type of good stuff.
Can I just say that I appreciate you all having one central location for events going on in the district. Girl, we know you go to Ponance.
Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Bottom line is we found that athletic events like intramurals are really packed. Lots of parents are there, so why not put a program there on the same day like the Wellness Day instead of having two separate events? And you actually have been talking about that a lot today. That's the meeting, after that budget meeting, to determine how we can best utilize our efficiencies by doing those type of things.
If I may, Mr. President. I will say I got to attend last year, and it was a really great event. The massage therapist was amazing. So if you do come and you don't do anything else, go ahead and get that 10-minute chair massage, because it will change your life. For 10 minutes, you're just going to feel so relaxed. So I'm excited to see that this is back, and I know it's going to be even better than last year, because the first year is always a yay, and now they get to see what's going on. So you guys did a great job last year. I look forward to what's happening this year.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Goodwine.
Any other comments, questions? All right. We'll move on to special presentation.
Special presentations. Dr. Bailey, I think you said, I want to hear about kids this year. Let's talk about children, and how well they're doing or not, and what we're doing to fix it if they're not. So we're going to start off today with the smallest of our children, early literacy update by Connor Walthour. And supporting cast. I'm sure the academics will jump in if they have to.
Good evening, Board. Superintendent Lawrence. I'm here to talk about early literacy, specifically the kindergarten readiness assessment, which was administered earlier this year. If you see this presentation, what is the KRA? The KRA is a state-required assessment that is administered to all kindergartners. It is this past year administered from August 18th all the way to September 15th. Per the state, that needs to be administered within the first 20 days of instruction. There are 4 domains to the kindergarten readiness assessment. That would be language and literacy, mathematics, social foundations, physical well-being, and motor development. On the next slide, you will see the results. This is a infographic that I created that has each of our individual kindergarten schools. There are 4 categories that a student can fall under. That would be if they did not participate, approaching readiness, emerging readiness, and demonstrating readiness. Based upon the colors, you can see that did not participate would be the lowest, followed by the approaching readiness, followed by emerging readiness, and then demonstrating readiness. If you also look at this table, you will see, based upon this infographic, that the number of students is on top and the percentage of the students as a whole is on the bottom. When looking at this, we can see that 70% of the district students that are in kindergarten were either emerging or demonstrating readiness, and nearly 1 in 4 of those students were showing demonstrating readiness. When looking at this next chart, you can see just a visualization from a bar chart form of all of our students that showed demonstrating readiness and emerging readiness, and most of them are hovering around that 70% area. When looking at the next, this is a historical comparison of the fiscal year 26 through the fiscal year of 24. When looking at this is solely looking at demonstrating readiness and the differences from the fiscal, from last year to this year. We could see from 24 to 25 that there was a decline, but from 25 to 26 that there was a strong rebound. Specifically at Charity Adams, we could see that there was a 19% increase, Horace Mann 13.9% increase, Louise Troy, followed by Kaiser, followed by Fairview. The district overall saw an increase of a 3.3% when compared to the fiscal year 24. Looking at the next slide, this is specifically looking at students who attended Dayton Public Schools preschool. So what I was able to do was I was able to grab the students that attended our preschools last year and do a VLOOKUP through an Excel and make sure that that matched with the corresponding students at their current building. And we can see that there were 370 students who participated in the KRA that also participated at preschool last year. Based upon this table, it's structured very similarly with the number followed by the percentage. 35.1% of the students who attended a DPS preschool showed demonstrating readiness on the kindergarten readiness assessment. If you look at that small little graph over on the side little table, you'll see that those are the students who did not participate at a DPS preschool, and only 14.1% of those students demonstrated readiness for kindergarten. Looking at the next slide, you can see that this is just 2 different tables. This just shows the breakdown of the students who attended a DPS preschool on the left-hand side, followed by the right-hand side of students who did not attend a DPS preschool. Followed by the next slide, you can see that this is a comparison of demonstrating readiness of showing students who participated in DPS preschool, followed by a list of who did not. I solely looked at the percentages just because the number of students were obviously different with 370 students who attended DPS preschool versus 500 plus students who did not. When looking at this, you can see that there was a 21% difference in terms of those who attended a DPS preschool versus those who did not. So based upon that data, we can see that DPS preschoolers were more than twice as likely to be ready for kindergarten versus a student who did not attend a DPS preschool. This is going to be followed by a quick MAP assessment. Just to make sure that everybody is aware of our MAP assessment. MAP is a nationally normed assessment that is given 3 times a year. What we do is this is an assessment that is kind of supposed to be a predictor for a student on how they do on the Ohio State test. Based upon what we have untested, limited, basic, proficient, accomplished, advanced, and advanced plus. At the very bottom, you can see a table of what those weights look like. So based upon this, you can see proficiency rates, they only count students who are proficient. Performance index will count everybody. So that's why I prefer using a performance index versus a proficiency rate. When looking at the next slide, you can see how our kindergartners did this past winter. We can see that the performance index had increased by 3.5 when comparing students from the previous 2 years. For the performance index, we can also see the proficiency rate had also increased by 5% when comparing it from the previous year. The bar chart just shows a nice little graphic just to show what those performance index comparisons look like. Any questions?
Any questions? Dr. Goodwin?
Thank you for the presentation. On the other school, preschool, do you have a breakdown of those who are part of the Preschool Promise program?
As of right now, I do not.
Is it possible to get that breakdown?
If it's coded in e-school, then potentially.
Okay, I'm gonna take, when would you know if it's possible?
I would have to talk to my team tomorrow.
Okay.
And can you send that out to everybody?
Yes.
And with the 31% of individuals who were persistent or proficient for kindergarten, do you kind of know, so how long is preschool? Let me ask that first. Is this 1 year, 2 years? How long?
Depends.
Okay.
Preschoolers can start at the age of 3.
So with this 35.1%, do we know if those individuals were in preschool 1 or 2 years? Or can it be drilled down farther?
It could be drilled down further, yes.
Okay. Can you guys drill down farther? I'm interested, 35% is still pretty low for me because that's still in the F range. But I am interested if that 35% are individuals who was their first time in preschool or their second time, to kind of just see what that piece is. And do you know any data about the kids before they come here? Like if they were in a child care facility, if they were in a step up to quality type child care facility or anything like that?
That information is not recorded until they're of age. When a student becomes like a kindergarten and they, let's say, transfer from Trotwood to DPS, then we have that file in the ODEX, but prior to that, there's
Okay.
none.
This one is for Dr. Lawrence. Can we send out a survey to the parents to see if they would self-disclose that type of information for us? Just interested really in what's happening with them, because the theory is the earlier that children start, the more prepared they are. And our data is showing 35.1% students are prepared. So if we can if there was a way for us to figure out kind of some of those different variables at the starting point, that would be useful to us to figure out how we increase that. Thank you.
Yep.
Answer your question? Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions or concerns?
I did, but I think Ms. Spurlock was about to say something too.
We did work with Preschool Promise this year, and we did send out a survey. We actually did that amongst our first 4 days of kindergarten to complete a survey to see if they attended a DPS preschool, a Head Start preschool, or a daycare. We are waiting for those results.
Okay, you said you guys started that at the beginning
Yeah,
of the?
we did. We send those to Preschool Promise, and they tally that for us. And so we should have that information we can cross-compare.
When did we send them? Like what month did we send them?
We sent that in probably October. So
Oh,
I will
they-
ask for that report.
They still working on that?
I don't know. I will ask.
Okay. Thank you.
Walker?
So for the students that did not participate, is that because of that window being closed at that time, or what was the reason for not participating?
It could be a whole multitude of factors. I mean, just based upon what we have in e-school, those students did not participate at Dayton Public Schools. Not to say that they didn't participate in a different preschool, but they didn't participate at Dayton Public.
Okay. And then, so the percentage is 35%. How do we grow that?
I think that would be a question better directed at our preschool staff.
I think you mean grow the percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is urgent. I've been asking the same question you asked, not only how do we grow it, but how do we do it rapidly? And I think part of that plan that we were talking about earlier,
Got it.
yeah, if we can
Okay.
get certified teachers in front of them, and then also we need to double down on the leadership in these buildings. I'm gonna be honest. I'm getting a little frustrated with that, meaning that it's the job of the building leader, the instructional leader, to ensure that high-quality instruction is going on from bell to bell in schools where you have them, and in preschool that's going on all day, and that you're using the curriculum, Frog Street, that we spent quite a bit of money on with Fidelity. There should be no more options, no more opportunities to say, I want to opt out. When you have I like saying this, when you have a knee surgery or arthroscopy, they do them all about the same. And so you don't get a chance to not use the curriculum. And I'm really going to have some conversations with the leaders about how we're monitoring instruction and making sure that's happening.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If it hasn't been happening, who's monitoring that?
I mean, we are monitoring. Actually, I sent a transformational walkthrough, I think, in one of the updates, and if I haven't, I will. So it gives you like an overview of how we go into buildings and give that feedback. I think this is, I think it's a new thing, Dr. Bailey, to say that you don't have the option. In education, a lot of times we want to talk about autonomy. We call it tight and loose. Some things should be loose, but there are some things that should just be tight, and we have to tighten up too.
Anybody else? Garrison?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Do you guys have data on DPS preschool demonstrating readiness prior to the implementation or passing of preschool promise? So maybe 20 years, going back maybe 15, 20 years?
Yes, that's something that is from the state website that I could download and look at and see.
Okay. If you could provide that as well, because I remember at one point Dayton Public School had the best preschool program in the area, and then competition grew Preschool Promise, and I'm curious to see if that's where potentially the numbers may have dropped. Thank you.
Yes, I can look at that.
Ms. Reiner?
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Thank you for this presentation. I really appreciate it. And especially in light of some other conversations that I've been having with some of the administration. There's been a bit of a hiccup for the public to know. There's been a little bit of a hiccup in terms of preschool enrollment and how that affects funding. And I remain committed to providing high-quality preschool services for our students. Most of my kids went to preschool, and it was really, really great for them. You've got on slide 5, year over year, from 24 to 25, the demonstrated readiness declined, and then 25, 26 had a rebound. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with COVID and these kids that were born during the most intense periods of COVID where, socialization, a lot of the really, really critically needed services or experiences these kids needed to be ready and to demonstrate readiness was not as available to them. Could you get the board maybe the last 5-6 years of the percentage of readiness, approaching readiness, just for our better understanding? Our preschool program has not changed significantly, so I don't think that those numbers would be drastically different, except for the fact that, COVID and all the things that is there. And so I would like to see those numbers. And then my question for you is, how does this information inform your work and the work of the kindergarten teachers and the kindergarten team?
I think the main thing, especially where my office is located right next to preschool, I have the unique opportunity to talk to the director and the assistant director about Frog Street. Just for transparency reasons, my background is high school math, so about as far away from preschool as humanly possible. It is interesting to kind of see that growth and kind of be able to get an idea of what students developmentally should be ready for by the time they're in preschool to the time that they're in kindergarten. I've had the unique opportunity to also go to Rosa Parks, talk to their staff, talk to other elementary principals, and just kind of see how their views of the Frog Street application has been going. So in terms of looking at the data, a lot of it is just kind of talking about the data and analyzing the data with principals.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bailey.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I appreciate the information. I do want to highlight, and I think maybe more so for Dr. Lawrence and then the other leaders in this district, and how we work to look beyond the numbers as well. I think we talk about it a lot when we talk about standardized tests. We talk about it a lot when we get to the high school level. We don't talk about it as much when we talk about kindergarten readiness, and that, unfortunately, these are the scores that you see across urban districts across Ohio, and that it is highly reflective of a child's socioeconomic status and the experience that they're getting before they come into kindergarten. Then you look at some children, they could be taking this assessment at 4, some are taking it at 6. Some are coming from a family caregiver provider space, some are coming from a comprehensive preschool. So it's how do we then, on top of the work, because I know that outstanding work is going in to our preschool programs, just as I know that that kind of effort is going in across our district, but how at that young level are we, and I think this is a reflective point, how are we working with partnerships across the city? How are we working with parental engagement to tap into the fact that even at our youngest age, it's not enough just to send our children to preschool and think that's going to save them. There are so many other resources that I think our parents still don't know about. There are so many resources that are afforded that we don't tap into because there's so many other issues and barriers going on in our community. So I definitely would like, as Dr. Goodwine said, to look deeper into some of these numbers, but then also look into how are we approaching what the numbers are and what these readiness assessment, what it really reflects. Because that is something that's come down from the National Children's, who even puts the kindergarten readiness assessment as part of their scale when they're looking at, issues that may occur at a young child. They're looking at this readiness assessment, but on the other hand, that they're openly saying, this really still reflects the experience that a child has. What's going on when they go home? What's going on when they're not in the care of DPS? So I definitely think it's a space for us to try to tap into these parents, because I think we've done that initial piece of getting more parents to understand that their children should be in a comprehensive preschool program and that we have great preschool programs. But I think that next step for us is then going, how do we help parents when they're at home? How do we help parents when those children are not with us? So I appreciate the information, and I think, Dr. Lawrence, I think that is our next lift of what we need to do, is how do we get to that space? Because we're going to see, you're not going to have great schools in a city where you do not have great services or people taking care of those services or taking use of those services. And so I think that there's so many things going on, and I think putting that out for our preschool parents and really working there and having that engagement arm could really do wonders as far as trying to change these numbers. Appreciate you, Connor.
Anyone else? I want to thank you for your presentation. You know, when I was in kindergarten, I'm not done yet. Hello?
Connor.
Hello?
I thought class was dismissed.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
When I was in preschool and kindergarten, we always had either a parent or someone in the neighborhood who would come and help with class. One question is, do you still have that, and how often do you have parents who come and volunteer or community leaders that come and volunteer? And if you do, how, for those that are out there, how do they get involved to help the students in the classroom?
I can answer on the secondary level, and on the secondary level, I can answer in as far as coming to answer on elementary level. So yes, there are parents and grandparents that are out. Just the other day I was in Wagaman, and so they're a consistent staple at Wagaman. I have to think about systematically how that started and how we can continue to ask them to participate across the board. I think by the time we get to high school, they're not, high schoolers don't want to see them. But middle school is happening, and I'll have Ms. Spurlock talk about elementary.
Certainly. So a couple different things. We do look at preschool, and we look at making sure that we have so many family events for each quarter, and normally there's a theme to really help prepare our families and our students for kindergarten. We normally do, we always have 4 days where we set up parent meetings at the beginning of the year. We have parent-teacher conferences twice, but we do a theme. Normally we do a reading literacy theme, a math theme, And we always do a kindergarten readiness theme in order to prepare and work with the families to say, these are the skills that our students need in order to prepare them for kindergarten. Last year, we moved it kind of fourth quarter. We're moving it up this year to this quarter right now, third quarter. We also had tied that into a family night in many of our elementary buildings to encourage families to come up and to see, and also invited our partnerships in preschools and daycare centers in surrounding those schools so they can get an understanding of what families and students need to do to prepare for kindergarten. So we kind of partnered with that. We also have partnered in different areas with Head Start and with Preschool Promise to try to kind of build that out so that we have more collaboration between. We used to have that a great deal, but we're trying to build those back up because we certainly cannot provide preschool to all of the students in Dayton that require. We just don't have the capacity, so we really have to partner with our groups. Also, for families that we always invite our parents to come out, we have a place where they can volunteer. There's a process for that, for them to volunteer online and go through that so they can volunteer in our buildings on a more permanent basis.
So what's that process?
Oh, so they can do a couple different things. If they want to be like a regular parent involved in the building, it's a voluntary process. There's an application you can fill out online. And I know the board has made some concessions, so our parents can be much easier to go and do that. If they want to volunteer in their building, they should contact their building principal, and we can make, and we always need parents to come in and certain things. So every building's a little different in what they need of the family, so they can contact their administration.
Thank you. Ms. Garrison, Mr. Smith?
Mrs. Garrison can go first.
Ms. Garrison, ladies first.
So, Dr. Lawrence, another thing to potentially think about, I know the Kroc Community Center does a lot of great summer programming for various ages. And I really believe, because again, I can go back to when I was doing tap dance and ballet at Dakota Center, that a lot of those summer enrichment activities, even for our preschoolers going into kindergarten, can help them retain what they just learned the previous year going into kindergarten, so that when they're assessed, you know, they remember some of those teachings, because that's a pretty big gap from the end of the school year to the next school year for a lot of the children to retain some of those literacy things that they've learned in preschool. So potentially looking at those collaborations, you know, at the Kroc Community Center, but also, you know, whatever services City of Dayton might be able to provide in Montgomery County as we move toward, you know, a more collaborative way of approaching this village mentality for our children.
Thank you so much for the feedback, and I think, I'm not sure when you're scheduled to meet with Dr. Sheehy, who's our Chief Academic Officer. We have, I'm going on record as saying this, we have the most robust summer school program in the region, in Montgomery County. Nobody can touch it in terms of its scope, size, and span. But I think, I do not believe I remember specialized programming for preschool, so.
We actually do. We have, we do have a specialized program. We actually team kindergarten
together. I
teachers
see
and
Dr.
preschool
Sheehy shaking her
teachers
head.
together for that transition from preschool to kindergarten. We've
There
had
it
that
is.
the past 2 summers. It was
Thank-
very successful.
See my people.
See, if you had let me go before, you wouldn't have had to say that out loud. So,
Hey,
I
look,
was-
they got it.
I was gonna ask, with our data, are we tracking the data for students that were part of the Ready, Set, Grow program versus students that were not?
I don't believe it was in this presentation, but we absolutely, I think, have pulled that data.
Okay, yes, I would love to see that. That's what I was actually going to comment on and ask, because just seeing that firsthand as a parent, I saw the difference that it made, not in just keeping students active and keeping that educational piece going, but also teaching them that transition. And I just know from my son, his first 2 days of Ready, Set, Grow, he was ready to give it up, because he said, "Man, they don't get to take naps the same, they're not outside the same." And so, but just getting him to that space to understand that, yes, this is what kindergarten is going to be like. And getting our children that acclimation there, it was a wonderful program. You know, multiple field trips, you know, for some of them, this first time they were on a school bus. You know, just being able to have that space where it was a little step up from what they were just getting done with. so I think you had like about a month almost of that, and by July, they were going, and it stopped right before school started. So I was gonna ask, with Ready, Set, Grow, are we offering that to students only that come through DPS preschools, or any student that is then entering into DPS for kindergarten?
They have to be entering kindergarten. I'm going to refer to Chief Sheehy.
Those students need to be enrolled in DPS. What we found, though, is that even though they are enrolled at the time that they come to Ready, Set, Grow, by the time they enter kindergarten, they may go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else? Yeah, that's all I was wondering, is what that looks like for, because I know that's when I heard about it, was from my son being in preschool, and then heard about that, and then was there. And then I'd love to see what does the capacity look like for trying to expand and get more students in there. Because I just think that it was awesome. I think the co-working of the preschool instructors with the kindergarten instructors, especially when you have that perfect match where, you have a child who then is going to be with that kindergarten teacher that next year too. So I think I would really be for try to look at how we can expand and grow that. Just seeing the effort there and how it really grows our own talent as well. So I really saw some employees really step into their leadership through that summer program as well. So appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I should have let you go first.
You should have, man.
How about
Told
that?
you.
Yeah, actually, you called me about that. I should have remembered that.
I definitely
You
did.
did. You did call me about that.
If I'm a kindergarten parent, what would be reasons that I would take my kid out of DPS after kindergarten?
You mean after kindergarten?
Yeah, so like if they're coming in, they did preschool, and now they went through kindergarten, and now they're leaving DPS, what triggers the departure?
I think what she was referring to, that they might have signed up, and then they may have gone before they entered our kindergarten to another school. So I don't know. I know that we don't lose as many students going from kindergarten to first and first to second, and second to third. Those are normally our families stay with us unless they've moved overall.
Okay. I think that goes back to our other conversation, so I appreciate it. All right.
Anyone else? Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for letting us hear about our kids, our students. Hearing from the bargaining unit. Any bargaining units? No. Madam Treasurer, anyone hearing from the public?
Yes.
This one to you,
Yes.
your statement.
I always forget that.
There you go.
7 and 8.
All right. Those who wish to speak, limit remarks to 3 minutes. The president has the discretion to extend the time. When your time is up, you are to stop speaking. It is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary action involving an employee or a student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matters that have already been settled, and/or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. The purpose of this public hearing portion of the meeting is for members of the public to express viewpoints and public concerns. Madam Treasurer.
Kalihi Bailey. Kalihi Bailey. Kamaru Watanza.
Hello, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kimaru Atenza. I'm a retired Dayton Public School teacher. When I was teaching at Kaiser, pre-K to 8, my students had the highest scores on the proficiency test of any of the teachers in the building. Nobody else was close. In fact, I had more students score above proficient than all the other teachers in my cluster combined. But there was a problem in my mind. The principal of the school thought it necessary that, and even encouraged, students who were academically ineligible to compete athletically. And I thought that was a problem. So I talked to him about it, said he was going to do what he wanted to do. I then got in touch with the, at that time there was a athletic director for the middle schools. And I got in touch with him and he brushed me off. I contacted the superintendent. Lori Ward was the superintendent at that time, and she acted like it wasn't a problem, so I turned it into the state. The state sanctioned the school and got in touch with Superintendent Lori Ward, who got in touch with me. And I explained that I had tried to tell her about this. She ignored me, and she instructed me to then go see Jonas Smith, who was then the athletic director for the whole district. And I did. And when I went to that meeting with Jonas Smith, Dr. David Lawrence was there also. And Jonas Smith, I told them who had competed while he was ineligible, and he lied and he said that that student did not compete. But I had the proof right there, on the spot, in my phone, showed it to him, and so he dismissed that. I mean, he stopped trying to say the student didn't compete. So during that meeting, Dr. Lawrence told me that he was then going to do my evaluation. So I guess I want to know, why is it that when I was doing something that was right, that then an administrator usurped the authority and responsibility of the principal of that building and decided to do my evaluation? Was this intimidation because I chose to do what I thought was right?
Excuse me, that's 3 minutes. Thank you.
That is a question.
Thank you.
That's it.
Superintendent?
Thank you so much. I would like to pull B2 myself, if I get some more information. I thought that was grant funded. It says general fund. And outside of B2, I'd like the board to vote on my recommendations B, C, D, E, F, and G.
So moved.
Second. Any time to look over it, some questions? Ms. Garrison?
Yes. We didn't have a reason for Sarah Scott's resignation. I thought usually there's a reason next to others.
It's an executive conference.
Oh, okay.
Gave you on paper.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Call for a vote.
I think she heard you.
Madam Treasurer, call for vote.
Okay. President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Superintendent's recommendations.
I'd like to take a look at the budget, and if you have any questions, I would actually refer them to the Finance Committee. We've met twice this month already, and we're probably going to have another meeting. All right. I'd like to move on to my recommendations for consultants and contracts. There are no, I don't think there are any new consultants or contracts from last week. There is new here, a 48-hour waiver. I need that for the school calendar that we just put on here. That was not on here last week. We're working on that. I just want to bring attention to the fact that we really need that to be taken care of. Oh, Elevate K-12. Two things in. Elevate K-12 and the school calendar was not on there last week. Elevate K-12 was on initially last week for 40 periods of intervention specialist support. I mentioned that in the board review on Friday. I then called and had it taken off because we had some internal questions about it. We met with Elevate K-12 and we've come back with this contract again after some internal review from the academic team. So the calendar and the Elevate K-12, which was on, then off, and now back on. I do want to make another note about the calendar. President Bailey, we're going to return with a recommendation for 27, 28, and 28, 29 to have a 3-year calendar. I was asked to go down that path, but we have kind of been struggling with this school calendar because we've been dealing with the 24 pay and trying to make sure we get that right with the teachers. They're 25 this year and we'll transition to 24 next year, so we're working through that. So we'll be back in a couple months with 2 more versions of 2 more years of the calendar.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 48-hour waiver for contracts.
Second.
Madam Treasurer, call for vote.
Point of information. We
President,
didn't do A,
I know I skipped A and did B to do the 48-hour waiver.
but the consultant piece is separate from the contracts.
Correct. I'm still doing the motion on the 48-hour waiver. We have a tendency to combine stuff.
Okay,
Don't
I
know
got
if we're
you.
going to do that or not today.
I got you.
Yeah, if you do that.
Madam Treasurer.
President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Dr. Bailey, I would ask, is the board interested in combining those?
Mr. President, can I make a motion for superintendents A, C, D, E, F, and G together?
Second.
Thank you.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Smith?
Yes, Dr. Lawrence, what, if you could share, were some of the concerns that you guys had with the Elevate K-12?
Implementation with Fidelity, the inconsistency sometimes of the instructors themselves, and then support when the instructors weren't there. What was another one? Those are the 2 that come to mind in terms of challenges that I thought we had going in. And they've been a really good partner the first couple of years. I mean, they provide a valuable support because we have a national teacher shortage in general, and it's even worse with intervention specialists. So our goal is to get certified teachers, which Elevate K-12 is, in front of our students. And so I think it was just a hiccup in the transition in terms of the number of years we've been with them, and then the kind of extending the services themselves. So thank you for asking.
Okay, so if I may follow up, excuse me.
Okay.
How are we ensuring that those hiccups don't continue? It's something I've heard from students in buildings that has been their issue in some of those programs, is having that disconnect, then having that disconnect with also having someone in the room who then isn't the instructor, but still has to be in the room, and how that connects. So with those, like, what is the answer? Are we going to continue to do things how they are? Is there some change in how we're going to have this offered? What leads you to believe that would change?
I'm going to ask Dr. Sheehy to come up and capture some of the Friday meeting, but I am going to say this. I said about, we first started this meeting, I talked about leadership and instructional leadership. I probably was really focused on secondary, and part of that is making sure we get to those Elevate K-12 classrooms on a daily basis as the secondary principals, and then immediately reporting any problems to the chief academic officer so that we can respond to them. So we have to be tight in terms of our communication and monitoring. That's part of the issue right now that I know we're going to change.
Yes, so we did have some concerns about our collaboration and communication. We've been working since we've been in partnership with them to make sure that they are connected with our IT, our HR, Business Plus. So getting all of those pieces in place have been a struggle, which creates barriers to instruction. So for example, if our IT team has not onboarded all of our teachers, they don't have access to our resources. So that becomes an issue. We finally got that completed. We had an individual that worked with us from Elevate K-12 that was amazing at working with all of the different departments. He's no longer there. And so I've been able to communicate that to Elevate K-12, and they've identified a person that they say can take over for the person who left. So they are guaranteeing that collaboration is better moving forward. With regard to staffing, they have staffed us with 100% now of certified teachers. We had a couple of hiccups at Dunbar in our biology class because we had a person that was absent, and then when she came back, she resigned. But they immediately found a replacement for that teacher, and so now we are totally staffed with 100% Ohio certified teachers. Because they may be licensed in another state, they have to go through a lot of hoops, which again, that we need someone that's going to work with all of our departments to make sure that we have certified teachers. So I'm positive now, but I was concerned with moving forward when what we currently have, we had a few snags. So I did not want to move forward with a larger investment of time and resource when I really want to focus on what we have now and making sure that it's tight. Our data suggests that, our students that took those classes last year performed very well. So I'm satisfied with that, but I want to make sure that moving forward, the investment, we get impact for the investment.
Appreciate that. Well, I'll wait just in case anybody else has any questions. Appreciate you, Ms. Sheehy. Anyone else? Don't mind if I do. This is for Dr. Lawrence. Dr. Lawrence, so did we have this up last week?
Elevate K-12. We did, but I took it off. It was Friday the executive session, board review session, And then I called Monday and had it taken off because of some of the concerns that we had. And I knew we had that Elevate K-12 meeting coming up that Friday, so I wanted to sit with that for a week.
Okay, yeah, and that would be my concern, and I don't want us to get in a pattern of that as we start off a new year. Being that we just added this on now for a full board view, to have this conversation without a review, and then we're asking to put a vote to it on the same afternoon that we got it. I just don't want us to start moving in that space, because I don't want us to then feel like we do not have the necessary information to vote on something. And I would say especially something like this, where we've had questions from board members about the program since we started the program. And so I would just suggest in the next situation where something like this comes up, that we try to move in a space where then we can look into these questions, have these answers, and then have board members coming in with full information of what we're voting on. Because when we're putting something up and then we're removing it before we have a conversation, and then we're putting it back up outside of a review, it creates a different kind of move where we're trying to ask all of these questions and wanting this information that sometimes may take more time. So I just don't want us to move in this new iteration of this board in that way, but I appreciate the work of everybody, and once again, appreciate you, Ms. Sheehy.
I want you to know, Board Member Smith, that I really wrestled with this because we've not had a 48-hour waiver. I mean, that means operations, academics. We haven't had any in quite some time, because we wanted to clean that up. There was a lot of that going on, and so we wanted to clean it up to demonstrate being prepared. I think because I had I was really under the gun in terms of some time restrictions, because a lot of these resources will be directed directly toward Jackson Center, and I didn't want to wait another month. I thought about it, but I need to get these folks in Jackson Center and get some work done.
Anyone else? All right. Madam Treasurer?
President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
I'll go yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms.
I
Woods.
need to bring something back.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Dr. Bailey, I checked on B2, and that B2 has been changed from general fund to grant funded. So I would like to bring that back for a vote.
So moved.
Second.
B2.
Madam Treasurer?
So,
Did we?
I'm sorry.
Did we vote on that?
Sorry about that.
We did not.
we pulled it down the last time because of some questions around the workload of another piece. So have those questions been addressed, or?
I think, for me, yes. As a superintendent, I think they have been addressed in terms of what the other employee is currently doing and what this employee does.
So, I'm just curious of our conversation earlier, and
You said, I'm sorry, what did you say?
of our conversation earlier, and like, what would this do?
So based on that conversation earlier, that's why I made it clear that it's grant funded.
Okay.
That's why I took it off, because I saw it in general fund, and based on that conversation, there was no way to go down that route.
Okay.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, if I may, Dr. Lawrence, I don't like to try to put your people on the spot, so I'll ask you.
Okay.
I had enlightening conversation with, I want to say it was, don't even see her here no more now. Oh, I do see Sister Minor here. That's why she was smiling. See, Sister Minor know what I was about to say. And Chief Dooley about the differences in that space. I think it may be good if they're able to share kind of briefly just what those two roles, the difference between them. Because I know we had some conversations without getting into, any personals there. I know that when we first brought this up, Ms. Garrison wasn't on the board, and now she is on the board. And I don't know if others were able to have that conversation. So if you would like, if not, I am fine. It's your prerogative, sir.
Sure, I have no problems. Ms. Martin, would you have to come up and have, she did reach out to you, have a conversation.
Good evening. This position would focus solely on bringing volunteer groups to the community to service our most vulnerable population, the special populations. And it wouldn't be them mentoring our students for pay. It would be setting up a system where they have a significant person in their lives to help motivate them and encourage them because we have such a large number. The other position that we were discussing actually supervises a team of people that have a caseload that works on the college career readiness, grades, attendance, behaviors, and things like that. These would be community people assigned to these students. Many of them that may be in foster care or living in group homes may not have a family, but they need a one-on-one person to be with them and to support them throughout their career to make sure they're successful. And we know what the research shows about students having that significant person beyond the principal and the teacher and things like that, staff members to support them. And that's the position that this position was developed to service that role because we have such a high population.
And what are the number of students that this individual will service?
Well, of the special populations, we have over 500 in the district.
So
when
that
we
would be
talk-
her caseload, all of those individuals?
Well, it would be her bringing in volunteers
Okay.
to train them and train them to support those students. She wouldn't have them one-on-one at all. It would be her bringing in teams of people. And we have corporations that have said they want to service our special populations. And they've said they need training and support. And that's what this role would do. Bring them in and do the orientation and make sure they have the training needed to support these students.
And what, do you have the number of organizations that she will be partnering with?
I know of one that's, Premier Health was one that Dr. Lawrence and I were working with. They've been waiting for about a year for us to respond, and they have a large number. And then there's other community groups that have come forth and said, we're really to help when you're ready. And meetings set up with some of the judges and people like that who are wanting to support this initiative. Any other
In what you
questions?
explained, I just don't see the need for this type of position. I'll just be honest. I think that we have enough people currently this year that are already doing the work that we can just allow them to continue doing the work. I think adding another person to essentially do the work that a team of 18 to 20, and then not including the federal programs already with the parent engagement piece and them bringing people into the district to do work with parents and
And
things.
those, the other group, they do have a caseload, but they don't, this would be a one-on-one support for this student.
Yeah, but what I'm looking at is, if we bring one person in, what is the number of that actual caseload that they're actually going to be working with to go out and get partners? And again, if we are being transparent, the same individual has ran 3 different nonprofit groups or whatever for mentoring, and all of them has closed down. Like, none of them are still operating the way that they were for mentorings.
One of them was Montgomery County Mentoring Collaborative was around for decades.
And was grant funded and then closed down because they did not have a contingency plan after grant funds ran out.
Well, I said it was around for decades, but I think for us, I was asked to draw the differences between this position and other ones. And, you know, I'd like to move, again, forward with the vote, because I think this is best for kids. This is our position.
Dr. Goodwine?
So thank you guys for bringing this forward. Which grant is this out of?
Title IV.
Okay, and this is one of those grants that if we don't utilize funding, we potentially lose that type of funding?
That is correct, because 15% carryover, we'll lose it.
I just want to make sure that, like, the individual that you guys are offering this position through, they did go through a competitive process?
Did they go through?
A competitive process?
Oh, yes, there were
Okay.
several
And
interviews.
they are aware if we lose grant funding, that we would
Yes.
also lose this position? All right, so I have no idea whether this person will be successful or not, but I do believe that you need to try ideas to see if they
Yeah.
do come to fruition in that piece of it. And if this is you guys' recommendation, I do think we just need to vote to see if the board supports
Yeah.
it or not.
Thank you.
But thank you for the information.
Any other comments? Madam Treasurer?
President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes?
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
All right.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
No.
Ms. Garrison,
No.
Ms. Woods,
Yes.
five yeses and 2 no.
Dr. Bailey, that concludes my recommendations.
President Bailey,
Yes.
I had a follow-up comment on that, if I could make a recommendation for going forward.
Go ahead.
So for things like this, Dr. Lawrence, for me, it would be helpful to, you know, though I'm excited that this passed for you guys, it would be helpful for me to have more details going forward when new positions like this are presented, to understand a little bit more, to actually have the organization signed up that they will be working with, as opposed to, you know, saying there are several. And just to have more things that are actually definitive and ready to roll out, as opposed to a person, you know, getting into a role like this and having to try to figure out who those organizations are, and building those relationships takes time. And by the time the grant is used and over and done with, you know, half of that time would have been spent trying to establish who these individuals and organizations are that we're going to be working with. Understanding that this is a grant that we could lose funding for, I think we should be more strategic when we put things forth like this to ensure this individual's success, so that it's not just, you know, us spending money because there's money to be spent. So that's just my recommendation for positions going forward under grants.
Thank you for your feedback. I think we didn't do a good enough job of kind of filling in the blanks just now. I would say Premier is not a speculative partner. They have 13,000 employees. We've met with them probably a dozen times over the course of 2 years. We used to use their space for Student Senate, given to us by the president, by Mike, and they have been super supportive. They have a person committed directly to Dayton Public Schools, part of their job, Micah Ville, former science teacher in DPS and Dunbar grad. She is Premier's sole person for DPS. So they've committed a lot of human capital. We just need to get the person to link up with them, to train their people to become mentors. When they asked to commit to mentorship, the conversation was aspirational. They said, we have 13,000 employees and you have 13,000 kids. We hope one day that we can have a one-to-one match for every kid. That was the aspirational conversation. But the back conversation was, hey, give us your students who are really struggling, those who are unhoused in foster care, who may not have anyone. And so we have a partner, and I look forward to moving forward with Micah to develop a pipeline for mentors for those 500 students. And then I went over to St. Vincent on Christmas, maybe December 22nd, to talk to the operating manager of St. Vincent and ask her if she thought this would be a good idea. And she said, absolutely. We would love to participate. I know the kids would love to have a mentor. So we have some work to do, but thank you for your feedback, and we'll follow up on it.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Treasurer?
I recommend the approval of the following. Monthly financials as reviewed today, this afternoon. Donations, approval of minutes, contracts, purchase requisitions, and then and now as reviewed last week.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
I'm trying to remember. Dr. Lawrence, did your team email out the places for the college tour?
Yeah, I sent it last Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Treasurer?
President Bailey, oh,
She was calling the vote.
Call them the vote, man.
Say that again. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
First. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
All right, thank you. Business Manager?
Thank you, Board President. I recommend ratification of the contract with Broombach Construction Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or concerns? If there are none, Madam Treasurer?
Okay. President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. New category, board members, travel expenses, and reimbursement. We'll look over that.
Dr. Bailey, before we get into this one, I know we had, our Ms. Kids emailed us out, the individuals going to this one. I just need us to be conscious as a board that we only have limited funds, so even if we do approve all of this, please check with other individuals to see if they want to travel, because it would be unfair if only a couple of us get to travel and some don't because we exhaust our funds.
All right, thank you. On this as well, I think that we might need to think about, as a board, limiting how many events that we go to. Something to think about that we can talk about later, so others can be able to, and that we don't go over our budget. Any other
President,
concerns or questions? Yes.
regarding that, I believe this falls under the External Organizations Committee that I'm chairing. Would you like us to have a conversation about that in that committee and bring some recommendations forward?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Madam
So-
Treasurer? Oh, go ahead.
Question. So if we're gonna do that, there are 2 of these that are relatively soon. Can we just vote on those first 2 and then save the rest until we have that conversation?
I'm good with that. So I'll make a,
I mean, I'm asking, the 2 that are relatively, the March one, can we, if we're going on, I'm asking if we can do the January and February? Or January, February, March, that way we can just have time to talk about the rest.
Dr. Bailey, if I may, there might be like early bird registration for even the March and April. I'm not sure. Yes, your concerns are valid, Dr. Goodwin. I'm thinking about, I always try to make sure that the registration is done as early as possible so we can save the district money when we go to these conferences.
Right.
Can I ask Ms. Kidd if there is one for the March one, or early bird?
Or April.
The March or April,
March, April.
the 4 that are in March and April?
You're asking me right now, I don't know. I would have to look at both.
so But the March, April, I'm thinking we would still have time in February to approve it if there is an early bird one at that first meeting.
Or honestly, if we approve these ones just with the condition that if there is, like whomever these are for, if there are other individuals and you guys have already gone to 2 conferences in this calendar year, that those people have the preference to go to it. That way it's just balanced out in that piece. And if we don't have the funds for it, then just because we approve it doesn't mean that we're gonna necessarily be able to go.
First one is in March for cost, but that further figures on the past was in
Oh, we missed it.
Okay. So I make a motion that we approve actually I said a lot of things. I make a motion that we approve the board travel and expense reimbursement as listed with the condition that if a individual on the board who did not sign up for these ones, they've already gone to 2 events, that another board member has the option there, so long as we have the funds.
Can I ask, are these the only conferences that board members will be going to this year?
I do not know, unless they send something in. Well, and you talk about this fiscal year, not the calendar year, correct? 'Cause
Yeah, because I think in that breakdown Ms. Kidd had, it had like OSBA conference on there, but that's this fiscal year, but then it starts over again in July, so then the
Correct.
money starts over again with this July conference.
Correct. So they're at least, everyone except for the last one is in this fiscal year.
Okay.
You all okay with that?
Mr. Smith has a question.
Mr.
Or
Smith, go
comment.
ahead.
Okay, well, I appreciate the conversation, and I do think we should be cognizant of those things and spreading out that opportunity. My question is, with the motion as it is stated, Dr. Bailey, what would be our mechanism for ensuring that if we've already voted on someone's travel, and then say someone else says, hey, I want to do this, what is this mechanism for someone to say, okay, you're going to go with me? Like, how would we enforce that? Or would it just be on good faith that I'm going to do it? Because if it's on good faith, we really don't need to vote on that. I think if we're going to do it in good faith, then we would just do it. Because unless we have some kind of way to say, you're not going to go, this person is going to go. So I'm asking you, how would you want to handle that?
I think that we can still do it on good faith and still vote on it.
No.
Go ahead.
So I'm saying say I want to go somewhere, it is voted on it, and then I've gone to 7 places, and then so Board Member Garrison is like, hey, I want to go to this one. But if I already have my itinerary and my ticket, what makes me then not go?
If I may, Dr. Bailey,
Yeah, go ahead.
you already kicked it to Board Member Reiner to come up with a system in that committee to bring back at the next meeting. Just in case, if you don't have an
Yeah.
answer right now, that one, but you did already assign another board member a task to come up with those mechanisms.
Yeah, so would that mean that we're still going to vote on all of these, or are we going to only vote up until, I would imagine the only one that we could leave off is July?
Well, we can actually just ask Ms. Kidd not to do the other ones, even if we approve them now. So the motion right now has them all in there. And we
Let's
could
do
ask,
that.
and we can ask Ms. Kidd not to do the March ones until Ms. Reiner brings back kind of that recommendation, since we've already missed that early bird.
Yeah, let's do that.
So now
Got
we're
that, Ms.
voting.
Kidd? So even though we're voting on all of them, the request is still not for us to register for the COSCA or COSPA on down until Ms. Reiner brings back that recommendation for us. All right.
Anything else, Mr. Smith?
I'm good.
Anyone on that? Anyone else? All right, Madam Treasurer?
President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods,
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. Ms. Garrison?
I'm sorry, what did I do?
Comments?
I do not have any comments.
All right, Mr. Smith. Good evening. Thank you for everybody coming out. First, I want to thank Dr. Jones and his team for getting back to me on some of the questions I had last week. I didn't raise that up during the vote on it, but I appreciate getting that information out to help me with that vote and with that information there. And I would love for you guys to share the progress of those projects. I think it'd be very exciting to kind of learn more of the inner workings of what goes on over there, and then especially with the cafeteria piece as well. I went to a couple of events. It's always good seeing some people out. Looking forward to doing more. I'm starting to get some invitations for our Black History Month programs. So I'm really excited to see people working ahead with that. I look forward to seeing just the learning that goes on during that month, and then trying to find ways that we can connect to our students so they can really see themselves as part of continuance of the history that goes on in our country and across the world. You know, we have some great students, and I would ask that we do try to focus on some of those things, focus on some of our recent history as well, and how people are currently changing the trajectory of our community in a good way. I want to thank you for all the people that stand in the gaps. I've seen a lot of things recently where people are really going above and beyond, and I just ask that in leadership we are cognizant of the mindset of people that are really going out there and doing this work. Sometimes from our different scopes, some are looking macro, some are looking micro, and sometimes those visions don't always align on a base level. And so I just ask us to give each other grace and understand that there are people who are really, really tapped into this work. And just because it doesn't seem like they are tapped in the way that you are tapped in, it does not mean that they are not doing an amazing thing, and would be and a huge loss for us to lose people because of just visionary alignments, when at the end of the day, we're all wanting our children to succeed and our families to succeed. So that's all I want to put out there for today. Please take care of each other. Keep the main thing the main thing. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Smith. Dr. Goodwin.
Thank you.
I ain't got much to say.
Well, first, I want to say, if you didn't make it out to any of the MLK Day celebrations, you were warm, because a lot of us were cold. So it was a great march yesterday. It was nice to be out there. I did see the pictures from the concert. That was good. I want to highlight, we had a 7th grade student from Stivers who actually did the welcome at the MLK dinner banquet, and that's always really good to see our students be able to be on those type of platforms. I also want to thank Chief Jones and the entire Belmont administration team during the first quarter, end of the first quarter at the JV game. We had 7 students who were awarded $17,000 each to go to Wilberforce University. So always great to see our scholars get offers to go on to the next part, and I appreciate them for helping to make that happen. And then it was JV.
Oh, we're talking about the
Okay. And then finally, I do want us to prepare us to come back at our next meeting, Dr. Lawrence, for the River's Edge, the extension of 8th grade. I think we got a good presentation on that last year, so board members, if you guys could review that, so we can actually make that decision, so families can know if they're going to stay with us, if we're going to approve it, and if we're not going to approve it, then they have enough time to go figure that out in that piece. I mean, I'm ready to go today.
I make a motion that we put 8th grade at River's Edge.
I second it. Moved and second. Any questions?
Any questions? No concerns?
Can we still get the presentation so that we are aware of?
We already had it.
They came out.
I thought that it was just stated that we were having a presentation next.
No.
No.
No, I was
But
asking for people to go watch the one.
We had one already.
Okay.
I mean, they put on a whole show, so.
I remember that.
Don't nobody deserve 8th grade. River's Edge deserves 8th grade.
All right. Any other, Mr. Smith?
Only a comment on the motion. Dr. Lawrence, could we, and I asked you back then, could we do something similar for our other middle schools as well? Because we do not do that. And so I would hope that we could do that and let those students be able to come down here and shine in front of the viewing public of Dayton the same way that we do for certain schools in certain buildings.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Madam Treasurer?
President Bailey,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you. And my final comment, I want you to know, I'm back in the debate contest. Hopefully I don't get cheated this year. I got assistant or associate business manager, Dr. Benson Taylor. We coming out, Charity, Adams girls. Y'all gonna see us out here. We're really late to the game, so that first one will be a little rocky, but after that, we're gonna get going. Y'all be sure to come out. Please support the debate program. I'm sure you will see the schedule that comes out the same way. I mean, support anything that our kids are doing after hours, because they definitely need you to show up. Any of our minor sports, our major sports, our academic pieces that come out, support, watch, give them praise, give them feedback, just help them continue to keep going in these pieces. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Woods?
Do I have? I don't have anything today besides saying happy holidays, because you know MLK Day was yesterday. I didn't go to the banquet or the walk. I'm pretty sad about the banquet because I was really excited about it, but I don't have any thoughts today besides asking you guys to just keep my family in your prayers. Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Lawrence, his team today for our presentation, and then our meeting earlier. I would like to highlight that we will not meet again until the 10th, but February 7th is the district science fair, and I'm looking forward to it. I did decline the invitation to judge, so I just want to put that out there. I judged 2 schools already, so I'm good on that piece. I will say that it is getting closer and closer to the new State House legislative session starting. So please pay attention to these lame duck bills that will be coming out that affect public education as it is today in the state of Ohio. I think that's all my comments.
Ms. Reiner?
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Just for the board's information, Dr. Goodwin and Board Member Walker are on the External Organization Committee with me, so look for the invitation for that. That has not yet been scheduled, but I'm looking forward to having that discussion. We asked last year, I also chaired the committee last year, and we asked that board members bring reports back from the conferences that they attend, and I would like that to also be a priority for board members who travel on behalf of the district to collect information and bring it back. I was not able to attend any of the MLK events yesterday, as I stated last week, and once again, I want to extend my thanks to everybody who was able to participate. Those marches are cold and wonderful. I'm grateful that we live in a community that celebrates this and makes this a priority. In terms of legislation, there is one that I wanted to bring to the attention of the public, just for everybody, so you guys can keep an eye on this one. Senate Bill 19 passed the Senate in December, and it was introduced into the House. This bill would require schools to provide for tutoring, extra instruction, and other intervention services to students who score low on math, English, statewide tests. The intention of this is great. I have zero objections to the idea of students needing further supports if they're scoring low. The frustration from myself, from other educational experts, from people who understand funding, is that there is no additional funding attached to this at all. Excuse me, and the additional expectation without financial resources, without funding, excuse me, is what's really difficult, especially when we are looking at budget deficits happening in districts all across the state. We need these services. I would love to have these services, but we also need to understand that they need to be funded. We need to be able to pay the experts, to pay the teachers, to pay the tutors. This is not something that we can just magically provide with a wave of the wand. We need to make sure that the people who are doing this work are paid for the services that they provide, for the expertise that they bring to this district, for what they're worth, and what we all agree that they're worth. So I would encourage bills like this to be funded and not be unfunded mandates. And that is all I have, Dr. Bailey.
All right. I'm gonna see if I can do this. If she makes it quick. 'Cause I won't do this often, but go ahead. I'll let you go back.
Thank you, President Bailey. You caught me off guard when you called me first. I'll get used to this. I just wanted to thank the presenters today, Mr. Connor, and I also wanted to thank Mr. Watenza for coming out and offering some public speaking. Public speaking is not an easy task, and I appreciate anyone who has the courage to come up and do so in front of this audience in this particular setting. And praying for everybody's safety. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Lacy?
As it's been mentioned, we had a Finance Committee meeting today. It was a good discussion, and it will continue on the finances of the district. Next Tuesday, we have the Audit Committee meeting that I'm looking forward to. And I wanted to make some comments on a working group that was put together by our Congressman Turner to address the perception of criminal activity in our downtown. Part of the goals of this group are to encourage Dayton Public Schools to not use the RTA for transportation. It is difficult to take this group seriously or support this group when members of this group are currently fighting in court to make it against state law for Dayton Public School students to change buses downtown, especially when you consider that in a preliminary hearing of this court case, the people fighting to keep this state law admitted in court on the witness stand that part of the rationale for this law was that they don't want to see Dayton Public School students downtown. This and the working group's lack of outreach go against any sense of bringing our community together to tackle our problems. Quite the opposite, this approach effectively demonizes Dayton Public School students. If they want our involvement in this working group, this is my opinion, they can start by repealing the state law telling us that we can't have our students change buses downtown. Thank you.
See, it's not always me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
I have nothing to share tonight.
Ms. Hamilton? Dr. Jones?
Thank you, Board President. First, I'd like to publicly congratulate our re-elected and newly elected board members. I did not get an opportunity to do that the last time, so congratulations. I'd also like to implore the adults in the community, parents, teachers, aunts, uncles. We're halfway through the season, our winter season. And it's something to see when, students are on the court competing. The level of intensity just goes up when they see faces in the crowd. I really do hate seeing gaps. And so come out and support these DPS kids. It makes a difference. Also, on February 5th, we have our annual Who's in the Jersey event. And the theme is cowboy boots and cowgirl boots. So, I'll get some cowboy attire.
Dr. Lawrence?
I just want to thank all the teams, treasurer's team, academic teams, and operations. We've been working very hard on the budget, and we've been making great progress. I want to thank the board members who have been invited and stepped out to be a part of these budget discussions so you can hear our conversations. I want to thank the board members who are on committees. We've been doing a much better job of working through ideas and providing information in committees. And so I'm really pleased with the start of this year. And speaking of basketball, I did go see a 7th grade game on Sunday at 3:30. And I saw one of the top guards in the nation, Marvin's son. That kid. Oh, man. he can go. In fact, Dr. Jones will probably only be with us for 5 or 6 years. His son will be drafted in the NBA, and he would bid us adieu.
I did just ref one of his games. So
Yeah. Hey, go ahead and record that. Let Buddy know I called him out.
All right. I just want to thank all the board members. When I reach out to them, they've been there to help me out in this new process and this new position. It's been great. So thank you, guys. I went out to MLK, a couple of MLK events. I went to the concert the other day, and I want to give a shout out to one of the Stivers High School students. I think her name is Janaya Belcher, who did a wonderful poem. It was beautiful, so I give her kudos on that. Did go to Wagaman versus Wright Brothers game. I was there with Dr. Jones, who left early. He had some things to do, but he missed a wonderful ending. Man, that was a great game, and it's just good to see these students work real hard and get out there and compete with each other. That's all I have.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
You gotta
I
get
was
the.
getting ready to. Motion to adjourn.
You gotta hit the gavel. I motion, Ms. Reiner second.
Walker, second.
We still gotta vote.
Vote. We still got to vote.
We still gotta vote, people.
President Bailey,
Yes.
Yes.
Becca, do you see that?
Goodwine,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, and Janiyah Daddy went to
Mr.
Meadowdale.
Lacy,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Garrison,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Motion to adjourn.